Okay, thank you. All right, so welcome to this session of Galactic News. This is the first one on our new system using Zoom, and we're very pleased with how this system works, and we can do many new things, as you can see here from our background, which is really going to be a beautiful addition. And we're going to be talking today about the humanity's relationship to nature and how the nature kingdoms are so important in the plan and what we can do to enhance that relationship and strengthen it and understand how the angels and the higher beings are working with nature and through nature with humanity. We're going to look at some of the upheavals and things that have been going on in nature and what that really means. We're going to look at some of the challenges we're facing, the activities of those still resisting the unfoldment of the new world, and how to use light and energies for balancing what's happening. And we'll also be looking at the energies flowing in to the planet and to each of us and to nature, and the effect that that is having on all of us and on the world, and how we can work with those in the best possible ways. So that's a quick overview of what we're going to be doing. So everyone has got their chat open, I assume, at this point. And Ginger has done a great job of explaining most of the things. If you want to ask, the key thing is if you want to ask a question, you type it into the chat and you put it in, it says caps question : and then put in your question. If it doesn't get answered right away or within 5 minutes, you can copy and paste the question again into the chat box, and I will try to read through them and make sure I get to the ones that I can do. So do not don't press your start video button on your system because we want to keep that clear. The replay, you will get a link for the replay, which will explain to you exactly how to see this as a replay. And if you're not already signed up for the subscription to the Galactic News, you should go to livethefuturenow.com and go ahead and sign in there. You don't have to do it now, but you can do it after the session's over.
It's free.
It's free, and it's voluntary donations. And I want to thank all of you for already donating. People are donating wonderfully as we begin, and it's very appreciated because we did increase our costs by going to this new system. So it's necessary for us to have the donations to keep this all working well. So thank you all for your support, and we will now go ahead and have Corinne is going to lead us in a meditation.
We're going to put nature up. You get to see nature.
Oh, yes. We're going to go to the nature picture.
This is so cool, this technology.
Yeah,
what do you see?
It really is.
He'll change it.
Here we go. We're now in.
So we're in a rainforest or with a waterfall out of just instantly. Here we are. So again, welcome everyone. I'm Corinne Mclaughlin, and I'm going to be leading you in a meditation on the nature devas to heal the earth. So the devas are like the angels of nature. Deva means shining one in Sanskrit. The devas are the intelligence of nature. They're beings of dancing energy that hold the blueprints or matrix for the perfect pattern of each species of plant or aspect of nature. And they're like the architects of nature. So we can ask for their cooperation to heal the earth. And they're overjoyed to help us. And when Gordon and I were at Findhorn, where we met, the Findhorn community in Scotland, we worked a lot with the devas in the gardens and nature. And you may have heard of the famous 42-pound cabbages that Findhorn was able to create there. They called it, the British Soil Association checked it out. They said it was factor X. They couldn't explain it. But it was really the spiritual work with the forces of nature, the devas and angels. And we also worked at Sirius, at our community in Massachusetts, with the devas, and were able to prevent a lot of infestation by the insects, kept the deer out of the garden. We learned a lot through that process. It took us some time to really get that one down, but it's very possible. So we're going to begin with this meditation now, and I just invite you to take a few deep breaths, just releasing everything. Being fully present in this moment. And let the moment expand with each breath. focus in your heart and send energy down your legs, out your feet to connect with our mother, the earth. Just feel your groundedness in the earth. Imagine there's roots growing out the bottom of your feet down into the earth, anchoring you, grounding you with each breath. And see the love in your heart rising up to the top of your head, into your crown center, right at the very top of your head. Just see the love flowing upwards. And see a radiant sun in your crown center, a radiant sun of light with each breath. And expand into greater light, feeling lighter and lighter with each breath that you take. Connect with your highest self and with the benevolent universe. Benevolent universe. With each breath. And now invite the devas, the angels of nature, to help support the healing of the earth and humanity. Invite them to help us in this work. Open your heart more fully, letting your love flow outwards, connecting with all the natural world around you, the trees, the rocks, the flowers, the animals. Just connect with all of it in your heart. Experience your love for nature as you keep opening your heart. And ask the devas to purify the earth, the water, the air, transmuting all toxins. See the earthquake faults filled with light to bring balance and stability. See all pollution and destruction being healed, brought back into balance with the help of the devas, the angels of nature. And now let us invite the Galactic Light Alliance, our friends from beyond the earth, to help bring healing and restoration to the earth, to nature. If we invite their help, they can do a lot to aid the earth and transmute all negativity and pollution. So we give thanks for their help, the help of the devas, the help of the Galactic Light Alliance. And when you're ready, again, just take a few deep breaths, keeping your feet grounded in the earth. Give thanks for this time together. Okay. Thank you for participating in this service work. It's so needed. And we invite you to continue to do this kind of work to help nature, to help heal the earth. It's so needed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that was excellent, beautiful.
Great.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move off screen now, and Gordon's going to give you updates on Transfiguration. So let me...
The screen's going. Okay, go ahead. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know why we're getting this busy thing here. Okay. So there's the comments here. Okay, there's a whole question here about intentional communities. I will try to get to that later on. I don't want to do it right at this moment, but we can talk about that because it's a very important issue, and there's a lot of things to say about it.
You can check out our book, Builders of the
and
Dawn.
Also we have our book, Builders of the Dawn, which is written and is still available on Amazon, which is an overview of intentional communities, how they work, how to start one, and all that. So there's a lot of information there. And so here we are in the middle of an incredible process on planet Earth, which is not typical of what usually goes on here, as we are in the midst of a vast transfiguration process that's going on and been going on for quite some time, and it's in process. So I think it's important for us. We always focus a lot on humanity and on what's going on with us and with the politics and the finances and everything. But today I want to take some time, we'll get into some of the other stuff as well, but I want to focus on what about the nature kingdoms? What is their role in the plan? What is the higher view of the whole function of nature here on this planet? And here, I wanted to share this with you. So that actually, from the master's point of view, there's a higher proportion of the plan and the master's focus on the nature kingdoms than there is on humanity. I know this might be kind of unexpected, but it's really true, because the nature kingdoms work directly with higher will, higher plan, and they do not have free will as we do. So they respond totally to the higher impulses that are coming through. And the masters and the Light Alliance are focusing on what is the current status, evolution, and the unfoldment of the animal, vegetable, and mineral kingdoms, and what are their vibrational potentials, and how are they affecting humanity? So humanity and nature obviously is very, very interwoven. Although some people would like to forget about this fact, in fact is we are very much interwoven with humanity and nature, and the kingdoms are affected by our state of consciousness as humanity, and we are, of course, affected by what's going on in the nature kingdoms. And our thoughts, our attitudes, and our actions greatly affect what goes on in nature. And we've studied this in great depth. We wrote a lot about it in our book, Spiritual Politics, how when certain events, when certain things are happening in consciousness, things are reflected in the natural world. And we've seen a lot of examples of that recently, with all the droughts and all the fires and all the things going on. Clearly there's been a reflection of the drying up of humanity's compassion and the intense fiery desire for more has affected a lot of the weather. And there's been other more darker influences on weather, which we'll get to in a minute. So there's a deva or an angel of each different major location, of each species, of the nature elementals, and even fairies and elves are real. They're all influencing the conditions in nature, and that's part of what's going on with what they're doing. So this is very important. Now, whenever there's a major accident or crisis in nature, a lot of additional help is given by the Light Alliance to try to minimize and deal with the energies that are flowing, that are happening there. and it's interesting. And so they called in the Devas, and the Devas was brought in, and they really helped to mitigate and minimize the damage. It's very, very interesting that our word, when we have a whole big catastrophe of some kind, they call it devastation. And if you analyze that word, it means devastation. So all these devas are being stationed around these areas to try to minimize the harm. And that is what happens all the time. We don't know it, we don't notice it, but it's very real and it is going on. So when we radiate our love and our light and our protection from us to the nature kingdoms, it definitely affects them hugely. And so and that is a wonderful way to mitigate potential problems. We've seen this happen with Hurricane Irma, where it was heading directly for Miami. It was going to be a huge disaster. And at the last minute, it changed course. It went off in a different direction, and the winds went way down. This was a direct interaction with higher beings working with this whole energy of this hurricane to minimize the damage. And that happened, and it was a wonderful thing. And it did. And sometimes it happens. It doesn't always happen, obviously, but it did in that case. But there's another whole level of this, which is the potential for co-creative activity between the nature kingdoms and humanity, that we actually can co-create with the Devas and with the angels to make things actually happen. This has been promised for a long time. It's part of the Findhorn experience, part of our experience, where you can communicate with angels, with the Devas, and explain to them what you're trying to do in nature, and ask for their help and cooperation so that things can actually occur. This is the way we are going to move forward once we come into full consciousness about the livingness of the natural world and of the angelic world. We will be cooperating and creating directly with them. We won't need genetic engineering. We won't need hybridization. All that will be gone because we will be directly communicating and co-creating with them. That is the ultimate level, or one of the ultimate levels of co-creation with nature, which most people don't even know much about, but it is actually happening. We know people, and we have done ourselves, where you work with the angelic kingdoms and you can clear and purify streams, you can clarify and purify the land and the earth, and all many things that can be done. And we could go into a lot of stories about that. I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's really real. So the creation of these relationships will occur as we open our consciousness, expand into the fifth dimension, and understand what is possible at that level of consciousness. And that is really something that is emerging and will continue to come forward. So the angels are like the architects of the natural world and what we see around us. They are the ones who hold the plan for how everything is supposed to look. And then the Devas are Devas for each species, for all kinds of different plants and animals. And they are there to make sure that each species comes out looking like, so dogs look like dogs and oak trees look like oak trees and not something else. They are the ones who carry that plan and bring it into form so that the forms actually reflect what the higher intention is. That's definitely part of what their role is. And we see this at Findhorn. We see it with Michelle Small-Wright in Perelandra Gardens in Virginia. We have done it in our community at Sirius. There is a lot of things that we can do along this line. So this is a whole new wonderful level of what actually is possible with the nature kingdoms. And it's something that is emerging and will become more and more prominent as we move more into the fifth dimension. So if anyone has any questions about this particular topic, you can go ahead and ask about that if you'd like.
Type it in.
You just type it into the chat and with the word question. And I want to talk also about some of this. There's a lot of stuff on the internet about geoengineering. And there is definitely this reality that has been there. And it was definitely part of the Cabal's plan to manipulate and control weather events. Many of you probably know about HARP, which is or I don't remember exactly what the words mean, but it's an array of types of geomagnetic and electromagnetic systems that can manipulate and influence the weather. So this was done during the Cabal's reign. Now, as you all know, my view is, and what I've been told very clearly, is that all the aliens who are not part of humanity have been removed from this planet. They are no longer present. However, there are quite a few humans who interbred with the aliens and created offspring who are hybrid, half alien, half human, and they are still involved in trying to manipulate things and do continue the programs in the control of the Cabal system. That's there. And they are being dealt with. It is being handled, and it's not an overwhelming problem, but it is still something that's causing things to be delayed in its implementation and full manifestation of the plan. So there are humans, and then there are also human collaborators with the Cabal who are still here and still trying to manipulate things and control. So these groups have tried to manipulate and control the weather using the equipment that was set up with HARP, but it was definitely not able to do it at the same degree. But they did use it to start the California wildfires. That's what I've gotten. It was involved in the California wildfire things. So, and the thing, what you have to understand is there's very specific rules of engagement of how the Cabal and the hybrids and the humanity interact, and what's allowed and what isn't allowed under cosmic law. And what basically is not allowed is now the purebred aliens are gone from the planet. However, there are a lot of these other beings here, and because these hybrid types who are half human are from Earth, they cannot be just taken off of Earth like the aliens were, because they are partially a product of Earth. They're from Earth, the Earth humanity. So even though the Light Alliance knew about this whole thing going on with HARP, they were not really allowed to remove all these beings from the planet. However, they can oppose it, and they are definitely opposing. The Light Alliance is opposing what they're trying to do, and they were successful with Hurricane Irma, and they did stop that, and they did stop other things. But once we hit the day of revelation, there will be this will all be changed, but there are limits on what the Light Alliance can do until that point. When we come to the day of revelation, the whole thing is going to shift, and there won't be this kind of influence at all. So now there's another angle on this whole thing of the wildfires in California, which was it was necessary for the wildfires to play out so that there would be shifts in consciousness. And it's very interesting if you look at what actually happened. There's been a lot greater sense of unity and sharing among all the people in those areas that were devastated by the fires. And that is part of that consciousness of sharing and unity is a precondition for establishing the new civilization. And that is definitely part of what comes out of that. And of course, there were a lot of conditions in the area that karmically were not so great. Massive use of herbicides on the wineries, exploitation of immigrant labor to maintain all that agriculture. There were certain things going on there that were not good. All that's been put in upheaval now, and it's part of a change that's necessary for the new world to fully emerge. And I know it sounds painful, and sometimes change is painful, but that is what has occurred. Okay, someone's asking, is the cabal creating another high pressure system over the West Coast to block the rain as we had earlier last year or year before last? So yes, that was there. I haven't really investigated whether they're actively interfering again with the weather in that way, but I will, and I'll let you know. But and then someone's asking about a blizzard. I don't even know where the blizzard was or what it was, but I don't think that it's possible. Yes, it's always
Standing Rock.
Yeah, and then I guess that was in Standing Rock. I'm not sure what happened. Oops, now I lost my my chat. Okay. Oh, Standing Rock. All right. I don't know. I'd have to check into that. I haven't really looked at that.
Meditate on it.
Yeah, I have to meditate on that. So there is resistance from these human ET hybrids, and that has delayed some of the things that have been planned, including the day of revelation, as some of you have raised the point that, based on the predictions that I made, we should have passed through the day of revelation. Well, what I've learned is that it's not that easy to make exact predictions because there are so many factors involved. If you think about what would be involved with the day of revelation, where you have the alignment of 7 solar systems, the preparation of human consciousness and human systems on Earth, I'm talking about financial systems, human systems of all types, all of them are being developed and planned for this gigantic shift that's coming. It's a very, very complex thing. Trying to make a specific prediction is not sensible. There's too many things. Now, what I've been told is it is coming. There has been no change in the plan to have the day of revelation, this huge shift where everything moves into higher frequency consciousness. All the stuff gets resolved. Everything I've said previously about it is still true. However, the timing of it is not really totally predictable because of all the kinds of things that can happen, such as the past election and that we've just been through and all of what that has entailed and what's come out of it. So we have to be very cautious about saying it's going to be at a specific time. It is going to happen. I will say that. And it is not going to be like hundreds of years from now. It's not like that. But it is in the plan. It is definitely coming. And we have to be patient. And the other thing is, as many, many people have pointed out, it's very important not to sit here and think about, oh, well, when this happens, everything's going to be great, and so I'm just going to wait. No, that is not the right approach. We are all responsible for creating the conditions and the situation and the energy on this planet that will help this process to unfold. That means that we need to hold that energy of expectation that this is coming, that the plan is unfolding. We need to do everything we can to live, as we say, live the future now, live as if and as is, this situation already is existing. And that is like becoming your future self. And that's what we're doing. So we live as this is already true. I know that the outer conditions don't always reflect this, as we've seen, and still ongoing, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But it is very powerfully creative to do this, because our consciousness is like the universe is a mirror, and it mirrors back to us what we expect, what we hold, and what we are looking to see. And that is what we're doing. We are creating the future by holding the vision and the intensity and living as if it is true. Because it is true at another level and another point in time in the future. It is true. It has already happened. All we're doing is remembering that and living in that space in that time. That's what we're doing. So this is a very important thing. And it's so, and I know that it's discouraging when you see some of the horrible crap that's going on right now as of last night, with the tax bill, but it is still only a temporary setback on the process of this unfoldment into the new world. It is still ongoing. Nothing is going to stop that. I don't care how many bills they pass or how much nonsense they create. So we'll talk more about that in a letter. So what we're doing is holding the vision of the future, standing in that future. It is real for us. It is actual. That's where we stand. That's where we live. And we don't want to be blind to what's going on. And we can take specific actions to help make sure that that does become real and do the best we can. But we don't want to get caught up because there is this huge struggle going on between light and dark, obviously. It's been going on for a very long time. But we are reaching a culminating point. Therefore, it gets very intense because we're at the culmination point. That's really what this is about. So what we want to do now is look at, I once wrote this article about what is the most precious thing that you have that everybody wants. You, every single individual soul on this planet. What is the most precious thing you have that everybody's trying to get? I want to see somebody put some answers up there. What do you think it is? Just put it up there. Write in your thought about what is that most precious thing. Love, that's great. Love, another love, yes, that's all very good. That's freedom. Yes, the I am, wonderful. Okay, yeah, this is good. Peace, yes, all good, all good. All very attention, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Your attention and what you put it on is the creative power in the universe. And don't you think that everyone out there, marketing, selling, convincing, manipulating, controlling, is trying to do something to get or use or manipulate your attention. And therefore, attention becomes the most important thing you can do. And of course, as someone says, it is linked to your intention, because your intention should be controlling your attention. So if your intention is to create the new world and see the new world happen, you want to give your attention to what is going to make that real and what is making it real. You do not want to give your attention to anything that violates this intention to create the new world. So therefore, you look at and you scan, what am I putting attention on right now? Is this worthwhile? And, is whoever wins the next beauty contest or whoever, does the next stupid thing on Facebook or whatever it is, some stupid Twitter comment, is that worth my attention? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Does it lead to my fulfillment of my intention? That's really a key thing. And so this is very important for all of us to think about and be aware of. And I struggle with it all the time, because in this society, in the modern internet media saturated age, there's a billion things coming at us all the time, and as we used to say in the 60s, trying to rip off your attention. They're trying to pull your attention over here, pull your attention over there. They even call websites, the cynical view of it is they call them eyeball farms. This is like the way that investors look. Is your eyeball farm going to be high enough that's worth my investment? I mean, it's cynical, of course, but it is what people are trying to do. And you need to be aware of this so you take control of where your attention goes. And that's really important. So now, what can we do? What else can we do to make this a reality, this unfoldment of this new world? We can help people to meditate and focus energy and transform and heal any negative energy. That's really important. We can avoid battling with the darkness and instead build up and reinforce the light. Now, there are certain people whose dharma is to go out and fight and do battle with that which is dark and evil, and there's plenty of it. But for us as light workers who know the power of light and the power of love, we want to be focusing on what is it we want to see more of. What is it, and how can we bring more light and focus on the positive, on the good stuff, and reinforce that, strengthen it, give it money, give it attention, love, all those things. That's what makes those things grow, because love makes things grow, of course. So, and we have to learn how to protect ourselves from that which is dark and low frequency. And I've talked about this a lot before. You look at the frequency of what you're experiencing, what's coming in, and you assess, how is this affecting me? Is this good for me or not? Is this raising my frequency, lowering my frequency? Do I feel more fearful after listening to or reading about this stuff? Or do I feel more uplifted, more inspired, more ready to do good stuff? That's what we need to look at. Very, very important point. And it's people you are with, things you take in on television, on the movies, what you read, all of it affects our frequency. We want to be very conscious of this. It's very important. Okay. Yeah, Gus has put out a beautiful little affirmation, which I love. It says, "May the earth and her children rise up and claim their birthright, their divinity, the ability to co-create peace, justice, abundance, and freedom for all." That just about sums it all up. I could stop talking now. Gus, you just did it. So this is really important to understand the power that we have. That's why the cabal wants us to be weaker, sicker, stupider, and drugged and full of opioids and every other thing you can think of, because they know when we discover the power of our intention and our attention to make things happen, they're done, totally done. And this is happening. People are already beginning more and more and more to realize this, and it is unfolding, and it is now unstoppable. They cannot stop it, and it will not be stopped. Absolutely not. So we can invite people to become part of the Light Alliance. One of the most important things here is to help people realize we're not alone here on this planet. We are surrounded by life and beings of all dimensions, and they are here to help and support us, and they are doing that. And so therefore we can really invoke their help, link with them, ask for their energy and their support, and work with the plans that they are putting in place for unfoldment of this earth in the best possible way. That's all part of what we can do. And it's very much open to us. They need conscious, loving, intelligent people to work with them to implement all the incredible plans that they have for the unfoldment of the work of the work on the world. That's necessary. So we can create discussion groups and forums where we can have people talk about these things. And the other thing that's very, very important is to visualize and meditate and see light and love pouring in to all these places and all this wonderful work that's going on and reinforcing the light. And, when we were doing the meditation just now, I could see the light coming in. I saw the light going through all the rivers and streams and everywhere that there's water flowing, like this waterfall here in the picture. Everywhere that's filled with light. See the light coming into that water and flowing in and flowing through the oceans and everywhere. And we know all about the work of Professor Emoto and how our thoughts and attitudes affect water. Water is a very powerful medium for transmitting energy. And we can use that in a very wonderful way to help. So that's another thing we can do. So let me just take a quick look at what we've got here. Okay. Could you comment on the current period of solar minimum we're in, a mini ice age as of 2020, earthquake? Okay, now, this thing, so someone's asking about, this is from Emily, that the natural cycles where there are periods where there's a solar minimum, less solar energy is flowing, and we are therefore could potentially have an ice age. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of people saying all kinds of stuff about what's going to happen to the planet in the future, blah, blah, blah. There's several factors here that are not being considered. A, there is geoengineering, but that's really being neutralized. It's not, I don't consider it a major factor at this point. The other thing is that there is tremendous assistance being given to us from civilizations beyond the planet, plus all the nature kingdoms, the angels, all of them are working in a coordinated way to minimize harm to the planet and maintain the life systems in a positive way. And I do not see any kind, and I've been told this is not going to occur, that there will be any kind of major catastrophe, natural crisis event that many people have talked about or are talking about. It's not on the cards. Think about it. It's taken the creator, thousands and millions of years to get us to this point of evolution where we're about to become a unified human consciousness, recognizing we're one. Do you think that those powers are going to allow the whole thing to just go blow up or whatever because some natural thing? No, it's not. It violates the law of economy. Law of economy says you make the highest possible use of every bit of resource you have. We've got a resource here that has been developed in its most beautiful form. It's been abused and it's been harmed, but it's not by any means lost, and it will be restored. That is definitely part of the plan, and that's how that will come through the relationship with the galactic civilizations and their ability to heal and purify and cleanse this earth and all on it. That is in the cards. It is going to happen. It is already happening. So I don't worry about all these kind of forecasts about everything. There's a million of them and they're all out there. Again, check the vibrational frequency. What does it make you feel? Fear. Oh my God, we're all going to blow up. We're all going to, okay. And speaking of blowing up, the other thing that I've said before, and I'll say it again for those who haven't heard it, we are definitely not going to have any nuclear exchanges on this planet, whether it's started by the US, North Korea, or anybody else, not happening. That is totally it is a condition of life on Earth, and it will not change. That is being held and made and enforced by the Light Alliance. And anything that's sent up in that intention will be taken out, will never come about. So don't even worry about nuclear war. But it's good to try to make peace. and in some ways, you could say it's good for people to be afraid that there's going to be a nuclear war, although I don't like fear. But the driver of the possibility of nuclear war can be a driver towards peacemaking, if it's used correctly, and not always is, but it can be. So therefore, it doesn't have its other side as well. All right. Yeah, okay. Best way to beat the darkness is increase the light. Absolutely. I like this one from Elizabeth. I envision personal arguments and fights being done through song to fully communicate emotion. That's really nice. I like that. Are the animals in nature also part of the day of revelation? Absolutely, of course. The other thing that's very interesting, Tom, is that the increase in the frequency, as you well know, of the earth and the nature kingdoms is already underway because the nature kingdoms do not have resistance to these higher energies pouring into the planet, and they move with it, and they allow their frequency to rise to meet and absorb and radiate those higher frequency energies, which is why when you go out into nature, you feel restored, you feel calmer, you feel uplifted, because that's where they are. They're in that higher state already. So this is a very beautiful secret, not that secret, but that you can actually go out into nature and make that your place to get re-energized and sustained in the midst of all the insane craziness going on this planet. So, I try to go out into nature as much as possible and spend time there and just be there with it. And, it's really an incredible gift to us at this point. And the Divine Mother, the Mother of the Earth, and all of that beautiful energy is there to support us. And that's what we want to constantly be doing. So time for a change of scenery. Let's try something a little different now. Okay. There we go. New scene. There you go. Just for some variety. Okay, I felt the new law of instant karma would help us evolve to the new state. Yes. As the frequency rises, the lapse time between the action and the karmic results decreases. So we're decreasing it all the time as we're moving up in frequency. And that is definitely happening. And that means that we're getting the results quicker. And we can talk about this in a minute when we get to Trump, to Mr. Rump. What is Putin's and Russia's role in Russia? Is the yin balance east and west? What is your comment? Yes, Russia does have a potential to balance east and west because it embodies both east and west in its massive landmass and people and cultures and all that's there. So what's necessary there is, obviously, we got to have a new kind of leadership, because the leadership that's there is very much of the old consciousness, the control system, the authoritarianism, all the manipulation and evil doing, literally murdering opponents and on and on. It's all there. That has to be changed. That will change definitely one way or another, probably not until the day of revelation, but it will change. And the Russian people themselves are very, very spiritual, mystical, very intuitive, and they have good, wonderful heart energy, many of them, and they will get their chance to be fully who they are as souls representing a beautiful culture. It will occur, and it is in process right now. Okay, so that's a wonderful thought. So now we have all these energies flowing into the planet, coming in from beyond Earth, beyond even our solar system, flowing into Earth, raising the frequency. And I've talked a lot about this previously. They're coming from the heart of the sun, and there's all kinds of increasing of that in frequency that's going on. So now, there are cycles to this. So there are cycles and times when there are major energy releases and the inflows from the cosmos come in, and then there are other cycles where it's quieter. Now, this does not always correlate with sunspots, but sometimes it does, but it's not actually caused by sunspot activity. They flow in because the sun is like the lens or the filter for our whole solar system. And these cyclical inflows come in, and they will continue until we get to the day of revelation, when the Earth will be totally stabilized in this higher frequency. Now, I can tell you from my personal experience and many of people that I am in touch with, that some days you wake up and you wish you hadn't, because the energies are so difficult. It's so painful, and body's hurting, and a lot of stuff's going on. All kinds of stuff is happening. That's due to these flows, massive flows of energies that come in and affect us all. And they affect the world, they affect the nature, they affect everything. Now, the more we have things that are not fully resolved, then that really causes a blockage. When the energy flows in, it hits the blockage and pain results. That's the fundamental. And so there's a lot of detail you can get into on all this. I don't really want to go into that right now. So this is very important, and we need to be aware of this and work with it. So when you wake up and you think, oh my God, I just feel awful, what have I done wrong? It's not that. It's not that at all. It is your energy system receiving and absorbing more new energy and trying to adjust. And it can take a day or two to process and handle this new inflow of energy. But the end result is your frequency goes up. That's what happens. That's the end result. It's good. And so that is really important part of the whole process. So now someone's asked about the Anastasia books. I've read them all. And they're beautiful. They're really incredible books. And you can get those on, I think you can get them probably on Amazon, and they are really an example. She is a very high initiate, high level being who has actually come in to rejuvenate the Russian consciousness and culture. And she has a world message, and very powerful, and they're real. They're not, people said, oh, they're made up stuff. It's not, it's real. So the question is, do I not see Putin invoking the balance of yin and yang? I would never limit anyone and say, no, he can't do it. Because anyone can change when they experience a transformation, some new energy comes in, and they can change. Their whole view and their whole attitude can change at any time, anyone. So is it likely? Well, I'm not sure it's hugely likely, but it's possible. And I wouldn't limit by saying he can't do that. So I would like to say, let's hold open that he can go through those. In my view of it, what I got about Putin was he was at one time cooperating with the Light Alliance. I said that earlier. He was working with the Light Alliance. And then at a certain point, he decided that he was going to go for power. He was going to go for the aggrandizement of the Russian consciousness and the Russian empire, or try to reconstitute the empire after the breakup of the Soviet Union and all that. And, he made that choice, and he went off on his own, and there's a lot of ego involved, of course. So he went off on his own direction, and basically stopped being connected to the Light Alliance, broke the connection. That happened, and that's still the case. So how he's going to do that is a question. I don't know if that's likely or not. Anything's possible, but I think it's more likely that this all will get adjusted with the day of revelation. So that's okay. Someone asked about Mark. How do you know you're headed in the right direction? The right direction is up, always. What does that mean? That means raising your frequency so that you are more and more able to have an expanded view of things. You feel more joyful more of the time. You feel able to handle more and more things without getting flustered or overwhelmed. It means you have more love for yourself, first of all, always. Everybody has to learn to love, respect, and trust themselves, and your own heart, your own guidance, your own inner direction must be a fundamental for everyone. And we've been giving so many messages saying, no, you can't do that, you're not, you're bad, you're sinful, blah, blah. Forget it. It's all a bunch of propaganda. We are divine beings, and each of us has the capacity to get clear inner guidance about how to actually be fully guided and aligned with your higher self, and ultimately with the higher powers. That's something we've done courses on this, on guidance and contacting your own guidance, and probably at some point we will offer another course on this to this group here, because some of you have taken my course in the past, but there's a lot of people probably who haven't, and I'm sure you would find it extremely valuable, as have many. And so that's that's good. The answer is above, right? That's the right direction, above. So we're in the process with all this. It's never an ultimate. We're headed for a tremendous breakthroughs, and one of the things that makes this really interesting, of course, is karma. And there are a few clowns on the internet who think there's no karma, but good luck to you, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Or that karma is some evil plot of the cabal to manipulate people or whatever. It's total complete nonsense. If we didn't have karma, how would we ever learn anything? We would just go on and on doing incredibly more and more stupid things and create more and more havoc and more horror for other people. I mean, obviously karma is an incredible gift to us, along with our free will and along with reincarnation. All that together creates an incredibly designed learning classroom schoolhouse here on earth that is beyond comprehension. When you start thinking about the fact that you meet exactly the right person that you have had interactions with in the past that you either can benefit from because it's positive karma, or you owe and you need to do something for that person. Out of the billions of people on this planet, you meet those persons. How does that get orchestrated? That's divine consciousness. And it's incredible when you really think about it. That's really incredible. Yeah. So all of this is really important because there's a karmic cycle going on all the time. And now let's just talk a little bit about this in terms of a little more practical dimension, which is our world political situation. Our favorite topic, right? So I know you all love to talk and think about this, but you do need to have as we used to say in our community, when you have stuff going on like this, you need to put on your solar plexus protector. You just imagine a shield over your solar plexus, which is where you get hooked in emotionally. So you put a shield of light, strap it on so that you don't get hooked into the incredible craziness and nonsense that's being perpetrated in the political realm. So now after this terrifying, horrifying election that we had, for many people it was, some people were jubilant at the moment, but we'll see how that works out for them. And then we had these off-year elections, and the Democrats did incredibly well. And they had African Americans, Hispanics, immigrants, gay and transgender candidates winning all over the place and taking seats they'd never taken before. And they rejecting all this division and the anti-group, setting one group against the other. All that is what's been rejected by a lot of people in a lot of elections all across the country. That is an incredibly important development. It's really, it's indicating that the American people are choosing more and more, not totally, but they're moving this way towards inclusion, towards love, towards the highest good for all, not buying into all this divisive rhetoric that is always trying to divide, conquer, and rule, which is what the game is that they're doing. So we had an African-American lieutenant governor of Virginia. We have a refugee from Liberia who was a refugee in 1994, Wilmot Collins, who became the mayor of Helena, Montana, the first black mayor of Montana in any town in Montana. Kathy Tran, the first Vietnamese American elected in Virginia to state legislature. The first open lesbian mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkin. On it goes on and on. All these people just saying, I don't buy into all this nonsense, and I'm not going to support it. And they didn't. So a very interesting comment by Noah Trevor, who you all know took over the Daily Show. He said, the biggest winner in the election was karma. That's what he said. I thought that was really great. And he's so right, because what this is a turning of the tide against the separative, selfish, dark cycle and policies that Trump and Republicans have been trying to impose on the country for the past year. And this will ultimately lead to the end of Trump's misguided era and the sweeping away of those who resonate to those kind of frequencies. Now, we are still in the middle of this process of moving out of Kali Yuga, this very dark, confused, heavy cycle, and into the light, back up towards the light and towards Satya Yuga, the golden age. We are in the middle of that cycle. Someone's got their sound on. Please turn it off, would you? Because it's making background noise. Thank you. I don't know who that is, but I can just do that. Fix this here if I have to. Let's see. You all. All right. So basically, we're at the bottom of this cycle. You could say we're at the nadir. The nadir is the lowest point of a cycle when it starts to go back up. Last night was probably the marking point of that lowest point in the cycle when they passed that horrendous bill last night in the Senate, stripping away so much from ordinary people and giving so much to the wealthy. That's a key point. It is a moment in the cycle where we've reached the bottom and we're going to start moving up again. And because people know what they want, and people do not want this kind of unbelievable disparity and manipulation and control for the benefit of a few. There's more and more people who are realizing that is wrong. It is not serving this country. It's not serving anyone. And it's even not serving the wealthy, because they're creating, can you imagine the karma of these people who, like Adelson and the Koch brothers, pushing the Republicans. If they told them, if you don't pass this legislation, we will get no more money from us. And then they did. They passed this horrible stuff. My imagination goes, I've been to Calcutta and I've seen it where you see like a broken fire hydrant and there's a huge puddle of water, maybe 30 feet across around this fire hydrant. The water's coming out of the fire hydrant and people are bathing in that water, drinking that water, and defecating in that water all at the same time. That's what poverty, real poverty, looks like. And I've seen it. And it's pretty horrifying. I see that these people who are doing these kind of things will have some kind of karma equivalent to that type of thing for what they are doing to the people of this country and to the people of the world. All of them, whoever it is. Karma is an incredible mechanism that actually measures based on motive. It's not what you do, it's the motivation for what you do that determines your karma. So if you do something that doesn't work out that well, but you had a good motive, it's not that big of an issue. But when the motive is greed, control, self-aggrandizement, domination of others, destroying of others, boy, you've got a big problem. And it isn't going to go away when you pass over. It's going to be around you for a very long time. I wish I could have a chance to sit down with some of these manipulators and explain to them what this really is and what this really means. I once gave a talk, you won't believe this, at the World Bank to a group of somewhat conscious world bankers. There's about 20 or 30 of them on the factor of karma in reincarnation in the financial world. And they got it. Again, there were some people there from India, and so some of them already knew about reincarnation and karma, but there were a lot of not, Western people. And I told them this whole thing about what goes on and why this is so important for you personally to do the right thing. And, they got it. And it was it was one of the most interesting talks I've ever given. And the feedback was, oh, wow, I didn't know, And so this is the kind of thing that ultimately you can hold that in your consciousness when you hear about this kind of ghastly nonsense that's being perpetrated in the Congress, to say it doesn't ultimately, although people will suffer, some people will suffer from this. We're probably going to lose our health coverage, but people will suffer. But that still is ultimately leading towards a positive outcome in the end. It will. That is the truth of it. And so we need to remember that, and remember that we really are all working within this incredibly profound system of learning and education through our own experience and expansion of consciousness into greater and greater beingness, all of us, and in whatever level we're doing it on. And if you can hold that perspective, then it's, okay, they did this, they made this mistake, they did this horrible mess, but in the end, it's not going to avail them anything. one of the most interesting things, see, I think that what I've been told is the cabal knows that they're coming to the end of their power because they're losing power everywhere. The aliens have been taken off. They've less and less power all the time. The people are getting more and more energized, and they know they're coming to the end. But I think one of the most symbolically interesting things happening right now is the Koch brothers are buying Time magazine or backing the financial backing for it. The Koch brothers are trying to buy more time, but they aren't going to, it's not going to do them any good because they don't have any more time. Their time is just about up. And so we're coming to the end of this cycle. How it's exactly going to play out, no one can say for sure. But when you look at the flows of energy coming from the cosmos, from the Light Alliance, from the masters, from the angels and nature, coming from the awakening that's going on within human hearts and minds, when you see the incredible number of beautiful, beautiful projects and work that's being done in every area of the planetary life for helping people for justice, for economic progress, for political rights, and every other thing you can, women's rights. And I'm so happy about what the women are doing. It's fantastic. I think that this is long, long overdue. And I salute the women for what they have done and standing up for all this crap and just saying, we're not going to take it anymore. And blam. And they've blown away so many big names because they deserve to get out of there because they are corrupt and they don't have a value system that honors the human soul, whether in a feminine body or a masculine body, doesn't matter. You respect and honor every single individual who's in this body because it is an incredible, difficult challenge to come into incarnation, take on a body, and try to live in a positive way in the middle of the challenges that this creates for all of us when we don't remember where we came from and we try to do our best in the midst of it. Everybody on this planet deserves compassion, even Donald Trump. I mean, I work on trying to love Donald Trump. I don't love what he does. I don't at all. I think it's horrific. But we have to understand that as a soul, at some cosmic level, he took on this role of being this absolute, ridiculously distorted, authoritarian, paranoid, narcissistic, heartless kind of person in that position of power in order to teach everybody how much we don't want that in our leadership. It's a tough job. Think about it. Yeah, and the karma he's going to have to deal with is pretty intensive. But he took that on. And at some cosmic higher level of his highest self, he knew that, and he did it because that was his job. So here he is doing his job, and it's awesome to see somebody doing that, but it's also extremely educational, and it's extremely catalyzing for so many people in this country and all over the world rising up and saying, we're not going to put up with this crap, and they're organizing and they're trying thousands of new women candidates and new candidates being put up for office and money being raised by the bucketfuls and on. Every liberal organization, like all the good organizations that protect immigrants and everyone is raising tons of money because of Trump, because people are upset and they're trying to do something about it, and that is beautiful. And Robert Reich, one of my heroes, said yesterday on Facebook that he's never seen the level of activism and engagement, even the 60th generation. And he said the younger people today are way more idealistic than any other generation he's ever seen. That is a hope for our future right there. And we are going to triumph. We will win, and we will see the new world happen absolutely for sure. I can guarantee that to you. And I'll live and live by that forever. And don't you worry about any of this other crap. Just keep living according to that highest possible vision you have, and know that we, as the people, have the power, and all this other stuff is going to fade out of the picture. Okay, so what do we got? Trump copied Hillary. Trump is unavoidable. Yes. If he didn't exist, we'd have to invent him. Well, we did invent him. And that is what we're living with. But nonetheless, it's going to all come into a good, clear resolution. So I'm looking at the questions here. How does this last choice of 52 people and creating this very dark action leading to a new system? Well, I think people are getting to the point of realizing that the system is really broken. It is really not working well. And obviously, but the primary problem is the influence of the money behind it and the control. But it's also that the kinds of people who are going into government these days are not there to serve the whole. They're there for their own ego satisfaction, for their own power, money, all the things that people drive them into those positions. Most of the people there, you cannot say, and they're not, many of them, as from my observation, are not very intelligent. They're just not. And they certainly do not have a moral center, most of them. And therefore, it's all power game, it's all a money game, and that's part of the problem. That is not a question of the system being fixed. That is a question of people getting in touch with their higher, true inner being and knowing that that's what they should be paying attention to. That is still in process. But more and more people are doing that. And as I've said before, as we go forward into the new world, there will be requirements for people to be eligible to hold office based on a proven record of service and love and genuine concern for the people they are supposed to represent. And that will, okay, all right, yeah. So that will make it possible for us to have people. And there are, as I've said, many, many wonderful people who would like to run for come and serve in political life, but they're not going to do it because of the corruption in the system, which they know is going to prevent them from doing what they would like to do. But that's going to change. It will change, I promise you. So that's where we are with that. Let's see what else we got here. More people to vote. Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea, Elizabeth. Getting more people to vote. Should we try to make voting a more joyful and celebratory occasion? Or should we just focus on what already brings us joy, even if that's not politics? Obviously, you need to do both. But it is so important in these times to strengthen your own connections with people you love, with situations and activities that bring you joy, that bring you peace and healing. We need to give ourselves that nurturance. It is not an abdication of your responsibility as a light worker to do this. It is a wise decision to actually take care of yourself, love yourself, nurture yourself, so that you will be strengthened and clear and joyful, because the most important contribution any one of us ever makes is the kind of energy and love and light and intention that we radiate to the world. That is our ultimate service. And it's that makes the difference, because everything we do, we live in a quantum field where everything is interacting with everything else. We've put out those positive energies. It raises the frequency around us. It raises the frequency of the entire field. Now, you can say, well, it's a small, teeny bit. Yes, it's a teeny bit. But when you get lots and lots of these teeny bits adding up, it becomes a big bit. It becomes a lot. And that's a major part of how this change is taking place in the world today. And so we want you to remember that. Don't ever question if you need to take a break, if you need to rest, you need to go out in nature, you need to, be with friends, have a nice party, enjoy. Do it, because it's going to help you but do it as part of your recognition that you're serving the world by helping yourself stay in balance, stay joyful, stay loving, and energized for the work. It's a very simple thing. It's not either or, it's both and always, of course. So getting people to vote, yes, I think that's a good idea. That we should definitely work towards having more people vote. That's because and of course there are many tricks being run by now to disenfranchise people who are easily disenfranchised, like immigrants and others, people of color, and etc. All that is part of the plot of the cabal to try to control the elections. But the more people we register, the less that's going to work. I think it's really important and helpful. And we need to clean up the whole election process, which has a lot of flaws in it and a lot of corruption in it as well, which I'm not going to get into right now, but it's definitely there. Karma in 5D. Yeah, of course. In 5D,
explain what that is.
In the fifth dimensional consciousness, when you rise up out of 3D and 4D into fifth dimension, there is no karma necessary, because in that dimension, you would never do anything to harm anyone else. You would be totally in unity consciousness with everyone in that dimension. You would know that we are one humanity, one family, one being, with many different unique and beautiful expressions. That's all of us. But we would always be loyal to that and not to these other things that are, all the other kinds of things people get attached to in 3D. So, of course, karma is not necessary there. Karma is here in 3D is a learning tool to help us learn when we make a mistake, there are consequences. You get to experience the consequences, think about what you did, and decide that maybe that's not a good thing to do in the future. Or you may decide, I don't care, I'm going to do it again. And you keep doing it again and again and again until you finally get the lesson. That's the nature of this learning school that we're in, and that's fine. So it's a very beautiful dynamic, actually, when you really understand it. Let's see, is there anything else here? Let's see. Net neutrality, yes. Well, again, this is another ploy by the dark side to give more power to the wealthy, because then wealthy corporations and other wealthy individuals can go ahead and do what they want to make this they will have special privileges. They will be able to limit who can have access to the internet. All these kind of things will happen. And that's not in the interest of the plan, of course. So that's going to be adjusted again when we have the day of revelation. And of course, as I've said before, the internet is training wheels for telepathy and unity consciousness. Once we have gone through into these higher levels, the internet is irrelevant. Basically, we won't need it, because you'll be able to communicate telepathically with everybody that you need to. And I know this may sound a little fantastical, but believe me, I'm already experiencing this to some degree, and I know others who are as well. It is not beyond the realm of reality, and it is just something that's going to occur as we go forward. And so, but of course, it is inconvenient. It is unfair. It is another dark ploy that's being put in place to give more control of internet content and all these things. But remember, everything that's happening happens in the context of higher powers are present here. And they are not going to allow, ultimately, all of this to just go completely wonkers. And it's not going to happen that way. And it ultimately will shift and will be brought into balance and right action. We do have to take our responsibility and do everything we can do as humanity to move into and live in the higher dimensions, as well as do what we can to mitigate these horrific activities that are going on. But ultimately, we do have the knowing and the understanding that we are being guided and supported and helped by beings far greater than humanity, and that we are not in this alone, and we will ultimately be successful. We will have the new world as we have been talking about for decades, and it is absolutely inevitable, and it is going to be born out of the hearts and minds and souls of every one of us, as well as the vision of the Galactics and the Masters who have held this vision for centuries and are still working on it today. So I want to thank you all for being with us, and I know that we really appreciate you and being part of the meditation. And we will, of course, be joining you in about a month. We will, of course, be sending out the notice, and you will get a notice about the both about the replay of this broadcast and also the notice about the next meeting and when it will be occurring. And it'll be same thing. You just go click on the link, and it's much simpler. Okay, now someone's asking about the book. I am working on the book again. My health has improved greatly. I'm doing fine, and I am going to be hopefully getting that out within some reasonable time frame, which I'm not going to enumerate, but it is going to happen. And thank you all for your attention, which manifests your intention and really brings us what we want as we hold that intention and give it our attention. So God bless you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for being part of this, and I hope you will continue. Here's Corinne. She wants to say goodbye.
Just wanted to thank Gordon for doing such a great job. Let me get in here today, and I hope it was inspiring to all of you, and I just really appreciate being with him.
I am a very lucky man on many levels, and she's one of the main levels.
Thank you, dear.
She has been a fantastic partner and support for me for the last, how many years? 46 years. And
not quite, but
and we're just so happy to be together, and we've been through so many things together, and we'll continue for as long as we possibly can, which who knows when that might end or not end.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So blessings to you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, and a happy holiday, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes, blessings, everyone. And keep up those meditations and sending light to nature to heal the earth. It's so needed.
Yes. Okay. All right. Blessings.
Bye.